I am incredibly excited to finally be doing this. It has been at least close to a year that this has been in discussions. Mm-hmm. And in this first episode, I think it would be good for us to lay out the who, what, where, and when of the Saints and Sages podcast. And we'll start with the who. My name is Stephen. I am the former host of the Nook podcast, and I'd like to thank the listeners for what was close to a 3-year run, especially those who have hopped over from there to here.
Wow, 3 years.
Yeah, well,
just
shy.
Bunch of bunnies.
Just shy.
Hop over here.
Yeah. Well, what? You know how people do.
I'm all ears.
So that's me.
Oh, did you get what he
Oh,
just did?
man, he's
Jeez.
right away with it.
Starting with the dad
that.
jokes.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, that's me. Who wants to go next?
Well, I'll go next because those were clearly dad jokes. And my name is Caleb Coleman, and I am a dad.
King of the
I
dad.
Clearly.
have the great privilege of working with these two for a long time now. Gosh,
Well, the two of you have been at it.
over 20 years. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
11
every bit of-
for me.
Are you 15? Oh, no.
No, 11.
11. So every bit of 10 plus.
Yeah.
And just have had some fantastic discussions with Stephen over the years, and of course Heather, and see where this thing goes.
Yeah.
You know? But
See, it is exciting.
yeah, I think so.
And finally.
Exciting might not be the word for me at the moment.
Wait,
I'm-
Louise, the reluctant third
Yes.
of this three.
I'm the introvert.
But the smartest.
No. I am the introvert of the group. But I am also excited to see where this goes. And like Cabe said, one of the greatest things about all this is being able to sit with you guys and just talk about God.
Yeah.
You guys have proven to be very wise brothers, and I'm grateful for you.
And sister.
That was Heather, by the way. She didn't say her name. The best way that I know to describe this right now is that it is a book club wrapped in a Bible study, or vice versa. And the books that we are going to read just happen to be written by deceased Christian authors. And
Dead people.
the first, yes, thank you. Our first season will be a study of God's Word via a book called Knowledge of the Holy by A.W. Tozer. I so wish I could remember who recommended the book to me, and I didn't have any idea what I was getting into, and especially I ordered the book on eBay, and when it showed up at my house, I thought this has got to be a mistake because the book is tiny. I mean, I've told people it almost you pick it up and it feels more like a pamphlet than a book. But then I opened it and holy cow. Anyway, that is my version of the what. And I thought for all of this, we could just kind of keep going around the horn. Heather, if you had to describe to somebody as best you're able, based on what we have talked about, what would you call this little venture?
I would tell a friend what we're doing is we're really a bunch of treasure hunters going after
that's
God.
Good.
Dang it.
You know,
Right out of the
I was going to
chute.
say that.
Were you?
Or you're. Oh,
That's so
I
good.
look-
But that is good.
Please continue.
May I say that?
yes.
No, you can't copy.
I think a lot about the noble Bereans in the Bible, where they were called noble because they heard the scriptures, and not only heard them, but then they searched them themselves, and they poured over them. And God loves that, and He gives us treasures for that, I believe. And so, anyway, I think that's what we're doing is we're kind of going after those treasures on the backs of these wonderful saints and sages,
Nice.
if I can say our name there, or are really on the knees of the saints and sages. Because the interesting thing is, talking about Tozer, he had a pair of pants made that had knee pads in them because he would go before God and he would pray so long that he'd wear out holes in his knees. And so that very fact, I mean, people like that, they've already sought after God. So why shouldn't we see what they found? I think that that's just something that is going to be valuable for all of us.
That was and what a lovely factoid.
Yeah.
Heads up, listener. Next week, we will be diving into a whole lot more about Mr. Tozer himself before we actually get diving into the book. So great heads up for next week that we just want to tell you what we've learned about A.W. Tozer and that he was just a fascinating dude, in addition to being an incredible, prolific writer. Caleb, same to you. If you were going to describe this podcast to a friend or family member, what would you tell them it's about?
Well, I would point people to, this is a trusted group of individuals that are seeking truth. I think we all desire a better, a rich relationship with Christ, and bouncing, what better way than to bounce off each other. And a book of this nature, I mean, to me already, like Heather said, that gives major merit to Tozer to even know that about him being on his knees all the time. You know, I'm going to lean in a little more when I hear someone that's really seeking after God, because I do think that is kind of lost in this world right now. It is absolutely crazy right now. And we should all be leaning in to God more. I mean, we should absolutely be asking him all these questions all day long. And I want to hear God on these matters, you know, especially, I don't know. I'm so tired of like just patty cake stuff. So if I was going to point someone to this podcast, I would just want them to know, like, hey, we're going to run with this and seek God together. And if you want to join us for the ride, you know, that's awesome, you know. So, but I want to run this with a team I like, and this is a team that I really do adore. They're great people, and I know their hearts are after God. So, I guess that's what I would say about saints and sages.
You made a good point about Tozer that I feel like is worth bringing up. His writing is such, and I think that's one of the things that surprised me right out of the gate, is that he writes in a way that you would swear this book was just written in the last 6 months.
True.
And I was stunned to find out that I think the copyright is 1961. So I'm going to assume that he was writing in 60, maybe even 59. So to realize just how far back this goes and the way that he is addressing the church, not a church, the church globally, it's so unbelievably pertinent, relevant for the right now. And I think for anybody who is a Christ follower, anybody who has any affiliation with their church, a church, is going to hear, going to see the things that Tozer is addressing. And the only word coming for me right now is conviction, that he wrote with such conviction that I think that translates into me as a reader feeling unbelievably convicted. And I hope that's not said to scare a listener away. I think we're in a place right now, especially the Western church, where we need our toes stepped on a little bit more. I know, and maybe it's just me admitting for myself that I want to be pushed. I want to be challenged. I want to be able to give an answer. Why do you believe what you believe? And I think that a book like this will help me refine what I believe. And that's one of the reasons that I'm just elated to be going through this with two people that I respect and admire so much. And collectively, we've had such amazing discussions over the past few years that this just felt like a natural next step. And maybe three friends anywhere else don't automatically go, you know what, let's make a podcast out of this. I'll take the blame. But I honestly feel like people who are going to choose to dive into this with us are going to find those same kind of convictions, stirrings, if you will. Maybe that's, did I just give my why?
Part of it.
Perhaps.
Yeah, at least in part. That's one of the other things that we wanted to touch on in this first episode is why we are feeling compelled to do this. So I'll just throw it up. Toss a coin. Who wants to go next and why you want to do this?
Go for it, Gabe.
Oh, nice handoff.
That was the wink, like
The nod.
Yeah. For me, I do want to go deeper. I feel like at times I'm just on fumes. I'll be the first to say that my Bible intake isn't the strongest it should be. So to read a book like this and really just delve into what words mean, and I want to do the treasure hunting. I want to have that passion again. I think that's the word I'm looking for, is passion.
That's good.
But I definitely want to be a follower of the spirit of truth, and I really want that to be my daily bread, or whatever it is. I want to desire the spirit more. And if this book can get us there and get me excited about it and passionate about it, which I know it can only happen once you're in the Word because it is alive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of good things can come of that. And what better way for me to run with Jesus than to desire his spirit and what his word is saying,
Heather, you're next. What is your why?
My why is kind of the same as you guys. I really want to, seek after God a lot more. And I love the idea that we're going after these wonderful sages of old.
Yes.
And I think we can learn a lot from them. And I think also just the fact of, having to be prepared for something like this every week is definitely going to be good.
Now, there's an interesting layer of accountability in it.
Yeah, that's the word that was coming to mind, was accountability.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing is, when we first started this, when you first asked the question, I think I pretty much was a no. But there
was a little crack, though, in your reluctance.
Yeah, there was.
It took some convincing, but here you are.
Yeah, in my mind, there was a no.
Sure.
To you guys, I was like, I think I'm going to be praying about
maybe?
that.
But then maybe.
But then, God was talking to me about the open doors that he places before us. And so many times I had been praying that God would use me. Just use me. I want to make you proud. And whatever time I have left, just please use me. And then here's an open door.
Yeah.
And once again, I was ready to not even peek through. So I said, well, I want to honor God by doing that, by just, taking a chance. And that's another reason why I'm doing this.
There's faith in that, though. There's absolutely faith in that, because I think that faith is so much about the unknown. And even in times when you're afraid, when you're reluctant, when you're anything less than enthusiastic, but you feel like God's calling you to it, sometimes it's stepping where you can't see the stairs.
Exactly.
And for whatever my nickel is worth, I'm so glad that you chose to dive in with us on this, because mostly that's the only way I could ever see it. That if the two of you weren't hauling along on this with me, I think the idea may have fizzled out and died. Caleb, something you said, I wanted to go back on just a little bit in saying, there's so many people, so many, Heather, you mentioned these authors, so many that have gone before us, and even amazing communicators of the gospel in the right now that we have available to us. And that's awesome. And I think we need to continue to make those things a part of what we consume. Mm-hmm. But there's not a whole lot of substance to that unless you apply it. And I know that as one who consumes a whole lot of things, I'm really looking forward to focusing that beam and saying, all right, here's what's good. here's what lines up with the word. And thus, I want it a part of who I am, and I want it a part of just how I behave on any given day.
That's good. That's good.
Anybody else on that?
I actually, that brings up a quote. Hang on one second.
Standing by.
It's one Tozer, actually.
A Tozer quote?
Yeah. And I was wondering if
What a great place for this.
I think that's well timed.
I was wondering if I was going to get to use this.
I think you do, or I think you will.
To truly know God, we must long for him without any other motive than reaching God himself. And I don't know what
so
book that's
perfect.
from. It's all about God and us individually, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's applying that and going to God and saying, what do you say about this?
Yes. Well, and for that matter, that it's just him.
Yep.
I think we're way too good at making a sandwich and adding, and it's this plus this plus this. And what I feel like I'm learning in this current season is our goal is just God.
Right.
That's it. And seek ye first the kingdom of heaven is something we've all heard 100 times. But when have we actually applied it? When have we actually lived it to say, God, it's just you. It's nothing else. It's just you. Yeah. I'm not in it for things. I'm not in it for blessings. I mean, obviously he's really good at that, but that's fine. I just want God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope that anybody else who chooses to dive into this study with us will have a similar bend. With that, let me throw out an invitation. I think the three of us each got the books from different places, or am I overstepping? Okay,
Amazon.
yes. Okay, Heather went to Amazon and she bought Caleb his copy.
That's right.
Did you get? So you got them both at Amazon?
Yes.
Okay, that's one. I got mine on eBay, and I think I paid $6 for it. So whether you go find it new or find it used, get this book. It's not going to set you back a whole lot. It's probably not a book you're going to find at a Barnes & Noble or Walmart or anywhere else like that. You got to go looking for it. But it is so well worth it. I am absolutely a humongous proponent of having a physical copy. I love to outline. I love to underline and highlight. I'm a crazy note taker on things like this. And I'm just going to encourage our listeners to do similarly. And if you're just hearing about this and have no idea what you were getting in for, then you're right here at the beginning with us. Get this book, get your Bible and a notebook, and keep that trio of things together and read along with us. Anything else as we're kind of hovering in this area?
You said, what was that quote about the motive? It was, can you read that one more time?
Let me get it real quick.
Because
That really was solid.
to me, the motive, people's motives is really just a reflection of their heart, right? I mean, so God is after our
Facts.
heart all the time. That's only once,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and to do it the way God wants me to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Listening.
yeah, absolutely.
You wanna read
There
it?
it is.
Oh,
To truly know God, we must long for him without any other motive than reaching God himself.
Yeah.
That's good.
see, that's a moment right there, which is something I do want to mention. Holy moments can't be manufactured. They can't be relived. And I'm looking forward to discussions that just take us places where we might just have to sit and be quiet for a little bit. And that's not something that any podcaster would say is a good prescription, but it's something I've thought about a lot, that as we dive into this, as we get deep into the word, I'll say this to the two of you, I'm going to say it to myself. I think there's going to be times when we're going to throw up a hand and say, hold on, holy moment.
You know what? I like that. You know, I think what my hope is that the people listening will feel like they're in it with us. So,
oh, yes.
you know,
Yes.
so like we can keep that pause. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like the manufactured podcast. It's takeaways for people, like an experiential podcast. Is that
Yes.
the way to say it?
That's a good way to put it. Yes.
So they're here with us. Because, I mean, That's what I want. I want
Yeah.
people to feel like family and part of our friendship.
Well, and listener, if you find yourself in a holy moment, feel free to pause the podcast and just sit in that. I have learned that from my counselor, just the unbelievable value of just being quiet for a minute.
Yeah.
Even when it feels awkward and even when it feels like it's just not something you normally do, it's okay. I think that you're going to find unbelievable richness in those moments.
Can people write in somewhere as well to let us know?
Yes, they can.
Their
I'm glad
moments,
you
maybe,
asked.
that they've
And
had?
we absolutely want to hear from you. The email address is saintsandsagespodcast@gmail.com. We'll have that in the show notes in case you didn't write it down quick enough. We absolutely want to hear from you just to find out where other people are and hear what other people are learning, hear what other people are gleaning. I think that's we're not about looking for an audience in this. We're about building a community of people who have that same kind of motivation to just say, God, we want you, and we're gonna take these words and run through them together.
Can we encourage the listeners to hit pause and just ask God whether they want to come along this journey with us?
Oh, that's good.
Because, I mean, just get in the habit of asking God.
Yes,
We need to ask Him.
That's good.
And, hit pause right now and just ask Him. There's no formula to ask Him. It's
Right.
just a simple conversation. Hey, would you have me go along this ride with them?
Yeah.
And like we said, there is no agenda to have a certain amount of followers or listeners or anything like that. We just want to be encouraged that you're seeking God too in this matter. So
Yeah. And I love what you said, Heather, that they're just more friends that are on this little journey of ours along with us. That's awesome.
Come treasure hunting with us.
Yes. See, if we're going to get T-shirts, that might have to be, says Treasure Hunter.
Not all treasure is silver and gold, mate.
One other element that I wanted to mention, at least talk about a little bit here, is that to keep this from being just another 3-person talking podcast, we will actually be including discussions with people that we meet along the way, folks who have been through some stuff and have held on to their faith, or maybe even come back to their faith and find themselves on similar journeys. I think it's just really important to have a good mix of other voices. So sometimes it's an interview clip, a teaching clip. Sometimes it's a movie clip, lyrics from a song. I hope you're here for all of it. Do either of you feel like there was anything else we need to mention here in this introductory episode?
I think he covered it.
nope.
Nice. Well, as I said before, please come back next week. We're going to be giving a great deal of background about A.W. Tozer. He was absolutely fascinating, and I feel like we're only going to scratch the surface on what is available to be known about a gentleman who wrote, I lost track. Maybe we could have a total count of how many books the guy wrote.
You could,
And
yeah.
we can talk a little bit about that next week as well, but just a fascinating person. And maybe just the best way to wrap this right now is to say thank you for listening. We're glad to have you here.
Absolutely.
And looking forward to this treasure hunt that we're starting on.
The Saints and Sages podcast is a production of Sozo Digital Media.